President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is under tremendous pressure to restore the suspended governor of Rivers State, Fubara, and the deputy governor, Professor Ngozi Odu, and the State House of Assembly that he suspended on March 18, 2025. This pressure is coming on him. It was reported by former President Goodluck Jonathan and two other former heads of states who have intervened in several ways to pressure the president to use June 12th anniversary, known as Democracy Day, to make amends and restore the suspended governor of Rivers State, Fubara, his deputy, Professor Ngozi Odu, and the Rivers State House of Assembly. Recall that on March 18, 2025, the president declared state of emergency in Rivers State, citing growing insecurity and all that. And if you go by that declaration, which was a six months suspension of the governor and other elected institution and the state of emergency, if you go by that declaration, that declaration showed that democracy can only be restored after 6 months. If the president perceives that there is a return to order, according to him, it means that it is about on around September 18, 2025. That's when it's going to be 6 months. This state of emergency in Rivers State will be 6 months old by September 18, 2025. Now, the stakeholders and the other statesmen who have intervened are pushing for the president not to wait until September 18, 2025 to call off the state of emergency and restore the democratic institutions of the state. And former President Goodluck Jonathan is said to be at the arrowhead of those pushing for the president to cut short the time for the restoration of democracy in Rivers State. And it was reported that the former president has had several telephone conversations with the sitting president on the Rivers matter. And there are also indications that this may be working in that direction after the embattled and suspended governor of Rivers State, Fubara, paid a visit to the president at his residence in Lagos during the Salah celebration period, giving an indication that something is on the offing. But what we gather is that Goodluck Jonathan has pleaded to the president to use Democracy Day, June 12th. And we know that on June 12th, the president will be expected to do a national broadcast where, based on this pressure, it is expected that he is going to announce the restoration of democracy, because the suspension of governor of Rivers State and the State House of Assembly and the deputy governor has seriously dented whatever claim that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu had made, that he was a pro-democracy fighter and all that. That he raised it, if there's anything else to raise it, because one, the declaration of the state of emergency in Rivers State has been stated to have been a violation of the Constitution. One, those who argued against it, that it was illegal, it was wrong, include the Nigerian Bar Association. And they cited that the fact that Rivers State did not even meet the condition for the declaration of a state of emergency in the first place. So the declaration of state of emergency ab initio was an illegality because there was no condition. Rivers State didn't meet the condition for a state of emergency. And then to worsen his actions, he suspended the state institutions, which he doesn't have the powers to do under the emergency rule application in the Constitution. He has no right to suspend the elected governor. He has no right to suspend a deputy governor, elected deputy governor. He has no right to suspend elected state House of Assembly members. But he did all that and even added far more by appointing a sole administrator, which was also described as alien and, in the words of the Nigerian Bar Association, an aberration, an impostor that is not known to the law. So that action on itself has erased whatever credibility, if any, that Tinubu has as somebody who is a pro-democracy activist who was part of NEDECO. Because if you are part of NEDECO, you have to act in line with the law. And to show that he knows what he was doing, when President Goodluck Jonathan imposed state of emergency in Borno, Adamawa, and Yobe, Northeast states that were under insurgency, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was against, among those who protested against that state of emergency, claiming that President Jonathan overreached his powers. So he knows what he was doing, because if he can be able to call what Jonathan did, and when Jonathan imposed state of emergency in these three Northeast states, he did not remove the governor, he did not remove the deputy governor, he did not remove the states House of Assemblies of these three Northeast states. He left them intact. The state of emergency was just for the military operation to take place, to be able to quell the insurgency. But here is Bola Ahmed Tinubu in Rivers State that is not under threat. People were going about their normal businesses. The only problem was that the pro-Yeso Wike people were grandstanding. They were doing everything to stop the governor of Rivers State from presenting the budget to them. Because if you look at it, the governor of Rivers State did everything that the Supreme Court asked him to do. Remember that it was the Supreme Court ruling that nullified the October 5 local government election of 2024 that was conducted as a result of the directive of the Supreme Court following application by the Chief Justice, by the Minister of Justice and Attorney General of the Federation, Lateef Fagbemi, SAN, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, that no state should be allowed to collect local government allocation if they don't have duly elected officials. Rivers State was among the states that conducted local government election in line with that judgment of the Supreme Court. But it was only Rivers' own that was a problem. It was the only Rivers' own that was nullified by the same Supreme Court. But all other states that conducted the elections following that directive, that ruling by the Supreme Court, they went ahead with it, including Akwa Ibom and others. They conducted their own and their chairmen are sitting pretty. But the Supreme Court turned around to nullify that of Rivers State. And Governor Fubara as a believer in the rule of law, quickly dissolved the Rivers State House of Rivers State local government council chairman, and was preparing to conduct and gave a date. In fact, it was by this August that the date was fixed for a new local government election, in line with the ruling of the Supreme Court at that time. But what did we see? It was frustration frustrating his effort by the pro-Yeso Wike lawmakers. They were harassing the chairman of Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission that had already released the timetable for the election. They were interrogating him, they were threatening him, and all that. Yet, Fubara was implementing the Supreme Court judgment. He was following the order of the Supreme Court. He has removed the local government people. He has given a date. They have given a date for the conduct of fresh local government election. But to show that the Yeso Wike and his lawmakers were not acting in good faith, they were harassing the chairman of the Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission and all that, accusing him of all kinds of things. The Supreme Court ruled that Fubara must represent the budget to the lawmakers who initially defected from APs, from PDP to APs, and later claimed they didn't defect. Supreme Court restored them and said that Fubara must resubmit the budget, represent the budget to them. And Fubara was chasing them literally. They will lock their gates. Fubara cannot enter. That was the situation that Rivers State was in. But that was not a threat that demanded a state of emergency. It was something that can be resolved. And then, of course, the State House of Assembly, under the control of Yeso Wike, was also threatening to impeach the governor, which they served him a letter of notice, published in the newspapers, and all that. But even at that letter of notice, it wasn't going anywhere because the Rivers State Chief Judge, Simeon Amade, was not on their side. And they were also harassing that one. They called on DSS to investigate the man for age falsification, because you cannot impeach the governor without the Chief Judge of the state investigating whatever allegation you have against the governor. When they know that they can't have a go, they can't be able to bring Justice Simeon Amade to their side. They accuse him of age falsification and all that. And they asked DSS, Department of State Services, to investigate him. And that was when the Nigerian Bar Association reminded them that only the Nigerian Judicial Council has the powers to sanction an erring justice, and not the job of the DSS and all that. It was in that kind of situation, because they know they can no longer impeach him without Simeon Amade's consent. The next thing we had was the imposition of a state of emergency. These are the climate under which state of emergency was imposed in Rivers State. And Nigerian Bar Association said no, it didn't meet the condition. There was no security threat, nothing. It's just political leaders, arms of government, unable to reach an agreement. That's not a sufficient reason for you to impose a state of emergency. And of course, we know how the state of emergency that President Obasanjo imposed in 2004 in Plateau State. In Plateau State, there was growing and imminent problem. In fact, over 30,000 people were slaughtered between Christians and Muslims People were dying. Plateau was on a lockdown. Obasanjo intervened. That is a classic atmosphere for a state of emergency. Even at that, the removal of Joshua Darie, the governor then, by Obasanjo, has been declared an illegality. Because he ought not to have removed the sitting governor. But at least you cannot dispute the fact that Plateau at that time deserved a state of emergency because Muslims and Christians were slaughtering each other. Over 30,000 people were already dead before the state of emergency was imposed. That was not the case with Rivers State. Rivers State was not facing imminent danger of that kind of thing. Okay. So you can therefore see that indeed the president has a lot to show that he is a Democrat that he claimed to be by mending his ways, by using the June 12th address, Democracy Day address, to restore himself, if there's anything like that, restore his credential as a Democrat. But even if he does that, there are so many things that he has been doing since he became president, aside this declaration of state of emergency that has been described as an illegality by the Nigerian Bar Association, the largest legal body in Nigeria. It's an illegality. You have had accusation by Rotimi Kamechi, by Salihu Lukman, former national vice chairman of the APC, that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is blocking the registration of new political parties ahead of the 2027 election. All these things are things that has been exposing him as not being a true Democrat. And he has an opportunity on June 12th to redeem himself in a way by restoring the democracy to Rivers State. And the former President Goodluck Jonathan is said to be among the former leaders of Nigeria who have been piling pressure on him to return Fubara back to his seat in line with the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I don't know what you think about the intervention by former President Goodluck Jonathan for the return of Simi Fubara, whether you think that Tinubu will adhere to that and redeem his battered democratic image by his imposition of state of emergency in Rivers State and removing the elected officials of that state. Whatever is your position, let's hear from you at the comment section. Thank you for watching this video. And if you are new to my channel, you have not yet subscribed to my channel, please subscribe to my channel. Hit the subscription button, hit the notification bell. When you subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell, anytime I have a new video, you'll be among the first to know. God bless you. And please don't forget to like this video, because when you like it, God will rank it high and recommend it for more people. Thank you, and God bless you and yours.